We are, however, just 2 sermons away from finishing this series about how God has given us everything we need for life and goodness, that we may escape the evils of this world. And we've been talking about all these different gifts that God has given us, each other. We've been talking about the Holy Spirit, not only these kind of more expressive gifts, but also the more normal, but still exciting, fruits. But now it's time to actually start talking about the big stuff. I want you, if you can, to think about the lost stories. Not that terrible TV show that ran for about 5 years and everybody got really annoyed about at the end because it turned out that they were all dead. Spoilers. But the lost stories that are found in Luke's gospel. There are 3 parables that Jesus tells, all centered around this theme of lost and then found. So we have the parable of the lost sheep, Luke 15, the very beginning, verses 1 to 7. The parable of the lost coin, the next one, Luke 15, 8 to 10. And the parable of the prodigal son, the last one, Luke 15, 1, 11 to 32. And each story you see has a familiar rhythm. Something is lost. Someone longs for it or searches for it. Something is found. And then joy erupts. There is a celebration, a feast, or a party. It's a very familiar. So there is the prodigal son. The characters are the father, the son, and the older son. The problem, or what is lost, is the younger son. The action taken, well, the younger son runs away with his inheritance. He repents and comes home. What is the outcome? His father runs to him and forgives him, throws a feast. An extra layer or thought, how the oldest son, the one who remained behind, is upset. But what is the lesson? That God welcomes the repentant with open arms. The Father cares for what is lost. He says, what is dead is alive again. What was lost is now found. These 3 parables unveil something profound, something we need to remember about the heart of God. That God is not passive, nor does he sit at a distance. That God seeks out his creation. God longs to restore his creation. And God rejoices over his creation. This is the story of the prodigal son with these 2 sons. One demands his share and the other stays to work. One wastes it all, living recklessly. One stays behind and serves faithfully. One returns and comes in and accepted. But one stays outside at the party with resentment in his heart. But the story of both sons are embraced by the Father. To one, the lost, he runs and greets him. To the other, the resentful, he seeks him out. Both are valuable, and both need restoration. To one, he gives a ring and a robe and a feast, and he is fully restored. And to the other, he says, all that was mine will be yours. Just as the father went out to the youngest son, so he goes out to the older and restores him. He seeks the one who was outside and draws him into celebration, just as he seeks his own who stayed and became resentful or grumpy or tired. He calls both. And this is the power of a parable, a story with a sharp and singular point. The point of these parables is that God's love is active and wide and extravagant. He forgives freely, he welcomes completely. And he seeks both the rebellious, the ones who have gone away, and also the resentful, the ones who have stayed and become tired, who have just run out and can't see anymore where he is at work. He forgives freely, welcomes completely. These parables are not about fairness. What is fair, says the oldest son? Well, actually, these parables are about grace. And what makes these parables compelling is when we hold them up to the other two. There is the lost sheep, where we have this pattern. A shepherd and 100 sheep, the problem, well, one wanders off. And the shepherd leaves the 99 sheep, the ones he knows are safe, to go and find the one. And the outcome, well, when he finds it, he carries it back and calls all of his family and friends in to celebrate. There is this lost coin, this woman who has 10 silver coins. It would have been part of her inheritance, part of her safety in that marriage. It would have been something beautiful and decorative that she would have worn on her person at her wedding day and would keep for times of trouble. And she loses this coin. And she lights the lamp and she sweeps the house and she searches for it carefully everywhere. And when she finds it, she calls her friends in to celebrate. These 3 parables tell us about the urgency and the heart of God, who doesn't wait for the lost, the ones that don't know him, to come home, and doesn't leave the ones who are with him in despair and doubt, but he goes to see them and find them. We serve a God who seeks and acts. This is the gift of Jesus today for us. There is an urgency about God who wants to find us and welcome us in, and it leads us into what we are celebrating and what churches around the world are celebrating today. Some with donkeys in the church, which would be amazing. We've got a dog, but I'm not quite sure anybody could sit on him. Let's not. This moment where Jesus, who had for the time being been walking around all of Israel, up in Galilee and down in Bethany, now he has turned his face and he is making his way towards Jerusalem, like literally into the city. Yeah. From Luke 19. When Jesus had finished talking to his disciples, he went on to Jerusalem. And then when he was getting near to Bethany on the Mount of Olives, he sent his 2 disciples ahead of them. He said, "Go into the next village when you will find a young donkey that has never been ridden. Untie the donkey and bring it here. And if anyone asks what you are doing, just say, 'The Lord needs it.'" And they went off and found everything just as Jesus had said. And while they were untying the donkey, its owners asked, "Why are you doing that?" And they answered, "The Lord needs it." And they led the donkey to Jesus, and they put the clothes of their back on it and helped Jesus on it. And as they rode along, the people spread their cloaks on the road in front of him. And when Jesus started down the Mount of Olives, the large crowds and the disciples were happy and praised God because of all the miracles they had seen. And they shouted, "Hosanna! Blessed is the one who comes. Blessed is the King in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory to God." And this is normally where we cut the story, right? We're like, yes, Hosanna, woo, party, horse, coats, psalms. No, palms. But some of the Pharisees, these keepers of the religious law, come to Jesus. And they say, "Teacher, make your disciples stop shouting." Basically, you're causing a scene, and we don't like it. But Jesus answered, "If they keep quiet, the stones will start shouting." There was something so undeniable about Jesus that even if the people would not be singing, the stones, the dead things that just sit there, would find voice and cry out and name this king who is coming to his city. Verse 41, when Jesus came closer and could see Jerusalem, he cried and said, "It is too bad that today your people don't know that I come and bring them peace. For now it will be hidden from you. And over Jerusalem, he says, this time will come when your enemies will build walls to attack you, and armies will surround you and close on you from every side. And they will level you to the ground and kill your people." Oh, what a great sermon while the kids are in. Not one stone in the building will be left on top of another. And this will happen because you did not see that God had come to save you. In this story of Jesus entering Jerusalem, he calls for this donkey not a war horse, not a royal steed, but a symbol of peace. And as he enters and gets near, the people cry out the praises. Blessed is the King, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory on the highest. And the crowd is full of praise, praising God for all the miracles that they had seen. It's loud, it's uncontainable, and the Pharisees try to stop it. Jesus makes this comment about the rocks, which is pretty brash and bold. I kind of like it. But then everything shifts. Because as Jesus gets further in and sees the city, he weeps. And he says, if you had only known today, I am bringing you peace. He weeps not out of disappointment, but from deep love. He sees the city that is mostly missing the moment. They recognize the miracles that he has done, but not who he actually is. They are excited about the bread and the lame and the blind, but haven't really grasped this idea that here is the King. We know what happens in just like 5 days, eh? The pity. He weeps, not of disappointment but love, for the people don't recognize the one who has come to them, to bring them peace, to bring them salvation. And here I want to bring you another parable. A man plants a vineyard. He sets it up with everything that he needs. A fence, a winepress, a watchtower. And then he rents it out to tenant farmers before he leaves on a long journey. And when the harvest time comes, he sends a servant to collect his share of the fruit. But the tenants beat him severely. They strike him on the head and send him away empty-handed. So the owner sends another servant, and they strike him and treat him shamefully. And he sends them more, and they beat some and they kill some. And finally, the owner sends his beloved son, thinking, they will respect my son. But the tenants say to one another, this is the heir. If we kill him, this inheritance will be ours. So they kill the son and throw him out of the vineyard. And Jesus is telling this story. And he's telling it to the people who know a bit, who know that one day a Messiah would come, who should be seeking him out. He tells this parable to the ones who God had instructed and entrusted to take care of this vineyard. And all the little servants that he sent, you could talk about other laws, the 10 Commandments, do these things. He sent the prophets and the judges, the people literally there helping Israel to know what they are doing. He sent them the kings of David and Solomon's to show them what glory and majesty look like. He sends the prophets to warn them about what their ways would go, but the people do not listen. And so just like the owner of the vineyard, so God then eventually sends his own son. And they kill him too. But we know from the story of Easter, and let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, that God's purposes cannot be stopped. That this rejected son becomes the risen son. And so the son is now walking into Jerusalem. The shepherd, looking for his one lost sheep, is riding a donkey, riding into danger for the sake of everybody else. The woman searching for his coin is not just searching for a coin, but searching for all of creation, searching urgently for what has been lost. And the father and the prodigal son now is there in the city, weeping over the city, stretching out his arms and longing to gather in all of his children. Today is Palm Sunday, and it's not just a story about a triumphal entry. It's a story about a divine search party in real time. The crowd of joy echoes the party thrown for the returning son, but the weeping of Jesus echoes the heartbreak of the father whose children don't understand his heart. Like the oldest son, there are religious leaders who stand on the outside of the celebration. There are in the city of Jerusalem, like the tenants, those who refuse to acknowledge the owner or his son. Like the prodigal who was worried as he returned to his father, there are people who misunderstand the nature of repentance, but also of grace. And into all of this mess, of all the misunderstanding, of all of the rejection, of all of the mistrust, God does not pull away. Palm Sunday isn't just about a triumphant entry, it is a divine search party in real time. Instead, Jesus turns up, going into the place where he knows he is going to be killed. He gives himself up. This is the true wonder of the Gospels, the great gift of Jesus, that we are not just forgiven, that we are not just brought home, but we are given the gift of Christ himself, God in the flesh who came to dwell with us. Not a concept for us to think about, not a philosophy for us to wonder about, not just some spiritual experience, but the full embodiment of God riding into Jerusalem on a donkey, weeping, loving still, seeking out still. Philippians 2 tells us, and you know this verse, he, being in the very nature of God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. But he made himself nothing, taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. He humbled himself. He came close to us. This is the gift of Jesus. He gave us himself. So the entry on Palm Sunday is the greatest lost and found story of all. 107 days ago, we opened the last ice cream container on our Advent tree and we sung, "Joy to the world, the Lord has come." But that just doesn't stay at Christmas. It walks through our whole life and is celebrated even more so in Easter. The Lord had come and had walked and ridden into Jerusalem and had gone there knowing what it would cost. And to those who were tired, and to those who were standing on the edge, to those who were unsure about what grace meant, and to those who were unsure about whether they would be welcome or not, and to those who were grumpy and just tired, and to even those who just didn't fully understand, he says, "Come, my sons, the table are ready. You were once lost, but now you are found. And you are not just found, but you are mine." And this is the gift. Not just a second chance, not just a cleaned up past, but Christ himself. God himself, given to us at his own expense, forever and ever. We celebrate today not just a joyful entry, but the ultimate, the greatest lost and found story of all time. That we were once lost, but he set out to find. As you lean towards Easter this week, as you turn your face towards the cross and wonder again at this beautiful gift, spending more than a few seconds just to gloss over its familiarity, but to think about these actions of a humble God who calls us in, who gives us not second chances and not cleaned up pasts, but new lives, who gives himself for us, who searches you out and desires to find you. Whether you have been found, be found again, and whether you are on the outside looking, come in. And when your heart is tired and grumpy and sore and a little bit bitter, he knows and finds you too. It is not just the prodigal, but the older son he searches for. It is not good enough that one sheep remains lost, but all are found. There are 9 coins, but the 10th is just important. You are just important. Think of this when you think of Easter. Christ, God himself, given to us and for us forever and ever. And ask yourself, is it time to join the party? Is it time to join the feast? Do I want to be welcomed in, received by the Father, found by the shepherd, and celebrated by the woman? Is it time? God, you love us so much that you are not distant. But you gave us the gift of your Son, Jesus, who lived a very normal life but was without sin, who walked into a city of Jerusalem or road knowing what would happen to him, and that his own self was not too proud or too good to be given for me and for us. And as you walked around this earth, Jesus, you told these stories time and time again about how you value your creation, how you care for us, how you want to look for us and find us, and how much you celebrate. So whether we are the prodigal son or the elder, whether we are the sheep that has been found or the sheep that is going to be rescued, whether we are the coin that has been looked for, the ones that were safely there, we give you thanks, for you are a God who searches and finds. We don't have to look for you, but you look for us. What a gift this is, and what a gift you are. Amen.